I do have a question for you.
Yes.
How are T-shares, the number, not the price, but what is the number of T-shares and how is that like going up? How is it going down? Well, I understand how it's going down now, but why was it going up? Is it just because of the bonus from the BTC claimers that did not claim, and that's what caused it to go up, and then perpetually for the rest of time it's going to go down? Or is there some sequence of events that could happen that could drive the number of T-shares to increase?
Okay, so the number of T-shares in existence goes up when someone stakes Hex. So in the early days, like, remember A-Bit when he was on, he said he only likes to talk about Hex in terms of Hex. That's because you're going from digital to digital. You're keeping everything within the capabilities of the smart contract. In this instance, we have to talk about price. I'll get to that in a second. The number of T-shares in existence is 100% dependent on how many people stake Hex and for how long they stake, right? If you stake 10 years, you get 3 times the T-shares over staking 1 year, right? So in the early days, the price of Hex was so small that people were able to scoop up a lot of T-shares, not only because the T-share rate was at its beginning, right? But also because the price of Hex was so small. So you've got 2 things working in tandem here that ratchets up price. Number one, you have this thing where every time someone ends a stake, like A-Bit was saying, the smart contract says, hey, could this guy right now, if he restakes that principal and all that money he just minted out of thin air, if this guy stakes all that for the same amount of time, will he have the same amount of T-shares? If so, the smart contract, when it updates the next day, it makes it so that you have to have more Hex to get those same amount of T-shares. That's what drives up the number of Hex required to get a T-share. This is called the T-share rate. This is called the T-share rate, is how many Hex you got to lock up to get a T-share. And it's cut down to a third if you stake the max length, right? So the other thing we have to consider is the T-share price. And people get this confused. So you got the T-share rate, how many Hex required to lock up to get a full T-share. And you have the T-share price, which is how much money you have to spend to acquire that number of Hex to get that T-share. So as the price of Hex goes up, it becomes exponentially harder to get a T-share because, number one, it costs more Hex. So you got to stake more Hex because of the ratcheting T-share rate. But generally, Hex goes up way more than it goes down. So it's more expensive to get that Hex. So as those 2 things ratchet, people just don't have all the money in the world. So So we say, a T-shirt used to cost 60 cents, and then it costs $10,000. It's around $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 now, or somewhere in there. But that's how the price can go up. The number of T-shares can go up and then come back down because as those 2 things ratchet, $1,000 investment is only going to buy you a fraction of a T-shirt.
So the rate, the T-share rate, and the quantity of Hex to get a T-share are basically inverse. So they're like related to each other, right? If the T-share rate goes down, then inversely the Hex price, the number of Hex to acquire a T-share goes up. Like that's how those 2 are like related.
Well, kind of. But the thing about the T-share rate is it can't go down. It can only go up. It's programmed. It's programmed to only ever
what is
go
that?
up.
But where you had mentioned the number of T-shares increases with the number of stakers. So can the quantity?
Hex they stake. Yeah.
Pardon?
It increases with the number of Hex they stake, right? And as the price of Hex goes up and the number of Hex that you need to stake to get a T-share, as those things go up so much, $1,000 investment it buys you less and less of a T-share. So that's why the number of T-shares in existence start to come back down, because as people keep on investing or whatever, they can't buy as many T-shares because the price goes up so exponentially.
So if there was a push over the next period of time where more hex, because it's not the number of hexers, it's the total quantity of actual hex tokens. If that is staked further into the future, if the quantity of hex that coins are pushed further into the future past the average, the total number of T-shares would increase. Is that an accurate statement?
I think Sam.
No,
I
I think it
Sam's
would still
missing one
decrease
point. I think Sam's
because of the
missing one
price
point.
of hex. Go ahead, Jimmer.
I think you're missing one thing, Sec. How much of the supply, Sam, is staked? Let's talk about it. So let's talk about the whole supply of hex. How much of the supply is staked? And
a little over 10%.
Right. So with the rest of that 90% is unstaked, but it's still hex, right?
Yep.
So I think that's kind of where I feel like, because the number of T-shares can increase, because if more hex is available in stake, there's only 90. I don't know. I'm getting confused about where you're getting lost as far as.
I just want to know where the number of T-shares.
Oh, there's something else.
Just the number of T-shares. Not
And
the
there's
rate
something
or
else.
like the price of them, but just the number of T-shares.
Number of T-shares. Oh, yeah, the number of T-shares. So, like. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Earlier, and also apologize if my reception might be dropping out a little bit. Hexo, I'm real close to Boise, motherfucker. Anyway, so the number of hex that one T-share produces, right? Wait, let's talk about the number of hex that the smart contract says need to be generated, right? So some people think that we have a lot of new people in the community, so for a lot of people, it's questionable where the smart contract is pulling like the total supply data, the number that it needs to multiply by 3.69, right? It's important to take note that it's only counting the coins that have already been minted, right? Like the coins that have existed. Yes. So the coins that people are earning now from their stakes, they are not included in the supply that's being inflated by 3.69%. That needs to be said.
Say that one more time. It's just the total supply of at moment now.
The number, the hex coins that are that are increasing in people's stake or app, right? The number of coins that are currently being allocated to people who currently have stakes that their T-shares are generating, those coins right now do not exist. They don't exist until that stake matures, remember. So the T-share really is a representation of the running total of the number of coins you can mint in the future. It's a running total of what you can mint in the future. That's what the T-share, that's what the number of that's what all of your bonus is. That's what your yield is, right? It's what the T-shares generated, and it's what you've earned from people ending their stakes too early or too late.
So the 3.69% is effectively only on 90% of the supply of hex, because the other 10% is not there. That's what you're saying, because it's burned?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying, right. And then go ahead with the rest of your point.
So the smart contract comes, it uses the inflation rate of the supply of the coins it's supposed to be inflating, and it comes up with a number of, okay, eventually it says I've got this many coins that I got to grow the supply by this year, right? Because there's this many coins that in the supply I'm supposed to be growing by 3.69%. So it's got this number of coins, and it just says how many T-shares are there. Okay, this number of T-shares. It just divides those coins by those T-shares. So it is spreading those coins out to the T-shares evenly. And that's fair for the new guys, because it sounds like new guys are getting screwed, right? But this is why the T-share exists, because the way the system's set up, it ensures that it's always harder to buy the same amount of T-shares in the future. This is how there's always meat left on the bone for new people, because if you get in today, the same amount of money, same amount of time frame and everything, you're going to do better than everyone who comes in after you. But you're not going to do as well as anyone who got in before you. Your spot in line is locked, right? You're protected there. I'm not going to come by and end my stake every day and roll it over and beat you. My ROI will not beat you. It kills those guys. So it's just a number of coins that need to be created divided by the T-shares that exist. And that's it. And that's how you get the number of T-share payout per day. Well, you gotta plus the bonuses. It takes the inflation that it needs. So for the year, it takes it does a 365 to get the daily, you
just got to do it on a daily rate. Okay, so if ABIT is saying there's say hypothetically 11 million T-shares, and there is a T-share cost 21,000 Hex, and somebody puts another 21,000 Hex in to get a T-share, then there's going to be 11 million, plus one additional T-share. And that's the very, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Could you see that middle part again?
Yep. So
plus 21,000 Hex.
Yep. So if there's 11 million T-shares currently, and I'm like, okay, let me get one more T-share. I'm going to put in 21,000 Hex to purchase one additional T-share. I do that, right? Now, instead of having 11 million T-shares, there's 11 million plus one T-shares. Is that accurate?
That's right. Yep.
And so there's a inflation of T-shares with people staking, but there's a deflation in T-shares as people end their stakes. Is that accurate?
The deflation of T-shares has
because the rates decreasing.
Yeah, it's
You're,
people
like
ending.
We talked about.
It's people ending their stakes that remove T-shares. But the big thing is that when they go back to buy T-shares, they got the bottom line is they got to stake longer if they can. I can't do that. I'm max stake almost, and or they got to buy more Hex. But what it really comes down to is, dude, your 15-year stake. By the time that thing comes out, what do you think the T-share rate's gonna be? You're gonna have to buy a lot more Hex.
Most people will end stake before their 15-year stakes are up. Let's be honest. How many people? Bitfinesse, how many people are going to wait? Only people that are 100% financially secure to the point where they do not give a fuck.
Do you guys know what this really is? You guys remember The Price is Right? Right?
Yeah, I do.
Right. You remember Plinko? See that game?
No.
All right. It's a big board. It's like a 10, 12, 15-foot piece of plywood. It's slanted, right? And it's got all these pegs in it. It's got a bunch of slots in the top, and you got a disc like the Plinko chip. It's like a wooden flat disc. And you go at the top, and you're going to drop this thing in, and it's going to hit every single little peg, boom, 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 on the bottom, and you don't know which slot it's going to fall into on the bottom. And on the bottom, you got prizes. You got, $10,000, zero. You got, go to prison or whatever. Well, this is this finance is like Plinko. The money circulates the world. It gets printed. It gets, created out of nothing or whatever. It goes in all these assets. And then, people sell assets they don't like, go into other assets. And like Will said, money goes to where it's best traded. I think that's kind of where the money pools up, where it stays is where it's best traded, and eventually it leaves there too because someone broker screws them, or someone rolls back prices on some exchange. And I think Hex and Pulse and PulseX are at the bottom of that Plinko board, and I think it's the only thing at the bottom of that Plinko board, and everything in finance eventually will just kind of get washed to where money gets treated the best, and that's in these Richard Hart projects and products.